Is there anything more you want to say about, what's his name? Kurt Lewin? And that, who he is and what that was all about?
Well, it's interesting, his memory. I don't know whether it will eventually...
He was a social psychologist, wasn't he?
Social psychologist, famous in
yes.
that. I think he was part of the Gestalt
he was.
Psychology, one of the
founders,
right? Founders of it.
That's right.
And
what was his influence on Maurice in terms of the group press?
Yeah, people didn't know about the Jewish side of Kurt Lewin. He found this affinity with Maurice at Cornell, and they used to have long discussions about the Jewish people, and it was a Weltschmerz with him. He couldn't stand the suffering of his people, and he used to get hold of Maurice. I remember they'd go for a walk, and they would hold on to his lapel, and he would say, "Maurice, we have to do something about it. The suffering is undeserved, and it can't go on, and what should we do about it?" And he used to get after Maurice that way. And did I mention anything in the course of my reminiscences about his relationship to
Normal now when he comes in.
From the seminary.
Yeah.
A great philosopher. It's off.
Heschel. No, it's on.
Is it on?
Heschel.
Yeah.
And you said how you called him when he was so ill. And no, go ahead.
I mean, they too, Maurice and Heschel had some affinity that they
how did they meet now?
I think at must have been, I think, at a Hillel Summer Institute when Heschel was brought to speak. And then a friendship developed there. And one time, Heschel, I think I may have mentioned this in the course of it. Heschel was at that time also at the University of Iowa for a short period. And came the Shavuos holiday, I think. And he didn't want to be stuck in Iowa City. So he called us and asked whether he could come on the quiet and be with us for Shavuot. And so we told nobody, and we put him up. The Windermere was in a hotel. It's right around the corner. And so he came, and we had that whole Shavuot with him. And he and Maurice also used to go for a walk. Maurice would walk him back to the hotel. Then he'd walk Maurice back. And this would go back and forth, and all the while they're at each other, with what are we going to do about this and what are we going to do about that? And you don't think that out of the clear blue sky would have called Heschel at the time that Maurice was dying and needed his just to tell him, to have him pray. And they used to have this kind of thing, or then after dinner, they'd sit down at the dining room table and drink tea. Maurice was also a tea drinker. Heschel could, at one sitting, have 8 or 10 glasses of tea, one after the other. And constant comment was then on the market, new kind of. And so he fell in love with constant comment tea. Loved it. He drank one after the other, one after the other. So then when he went back to New York, I made a little package out of, 100, 200 tea bags, constant comment, and I sent it with a note to his wife saying that he loved it so that I wanted him to have it. I never heard from her an acknowledgement of it. So to this day,
you never knew.
But he was, unless you have this kind of a proximity to a person, you just don't know the generosity of spirit and the humanness of it in a close relationship. And that was, and obviously nobody knew that he was here. He prepared not to go to shul, but I'm sure he prayed in the hotel before he come over, because he was a practicing Orthodox Jew himself. But
that too was part of the legacy.
Well, thank you for sharing that about Heschel, but also about Kurt Lewin, because I think that was an important influence on Maurice and back and forth.
As a matter of fact, I think in the legacy book, they printed the sermon that Maurice gave at Kurt Lewin's funeral in Boston, in which that was, his heart was speaking in that sermon, not just his lips. He was a very interesting person.